All right, so the next thing we want to do is we need to format the rest of this, right? So you can see this is all this placeholder stuff. Yeah, so we want to change this to more permanent. Try to get this to look correct. Okay. So first thing you're going to want to do is on the site itself, we're gonna need some images. So I already put images. So on the site, if you remember, it made this images folder for us last time, and it just had this placeholder image that it put for us. And then it also put CSS, which has the bootstrap and the JavaScript, and then here's our actual document that we're currently working on. Inside the images folder, you need to put all of your images. Okay, that's the first thing that needs to happen. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the next bit here. So just be aware you need to put those in there. All right. So I'm just going to work from the top down. I feel like that's just the easiest way to, get this sorted out and to work the business here. Okay. Now, to try and grab this to target the nav bar here is sort of difficult because I can grab it, but I'm not even 100% sure what part I'm grabbing. I mean, I know it tells me the class is there and stuff, but it's difficult to tell. Okay, because I might try and delete this, and I'll just right click, go delete, and oh, it worked that time. But I might try to do this and go delete. Really? Now you're working? But if I click in here and then I hit delete, and it worked. All right. Well, now I look like a jerk. But a lot of times it just doesn't work, and it's difficult to know if I delete it. So even if I if I just go ahead and I delete this, and if I were to delete this, you may be like, oh, good, it's gone. But if we were to actually look at it, you'll see this little form thing here. I'm going to show you this in a second. It actually didn't delete all of the elements. It deleted the two things that are visible, but not actually all of it. Okay. So it's sort of hard to grab things and to make sure we have what we want and that we're grabbing what we think we're grabbing. So what I'm going to do is show you this. So currently you have it on snippets. I'm going to show you DOM. So DOM stands for Document Object Model. And what it is that it's trying to, well, this is the DOM, but this is showing you a visual representation of the DOM. This isn't necessarily called DOM per se. DOM is just what that thing meant. So anyway, we can see it here. I'm just going to click on code so you can see a little bit better. What this is showing is that, okay, we have HTML, so that's all of this, and then it has the head, and that is this section. So see how it's highlighting that section? And if I open up the head, you can see there's all these metas. Okay, so it's showing you each one of the elements. Let me minimize that. Let me expand this. And then on top of it, it shows you, okay, we'll open this div. So you can see we have this one that's a container, and then inside that container, I have a row, another row, another row, another row, right? And then inside each one of these rows, I have elements in those, okay? So it kind of shows you how everything's parented, and this works particularly well because, so this is one row, and then watch, I click on this, you can see that's that row, which just has the title in it. There's this row, which only has the carousel in it, and then there's this row, which has these 4 cards in it, and then this one has 2. And if I expand, let's say this row right here, you can see there's column 1, column 2, column 3, column 4, and inside that column, we have that card, right? And inside that card, we have the body of the card, and then we have the card title. But you can see how all these things are just basically nested inside of each other, and it's a little bit easier to kind of grab it and know that I'm getting the entirety of whatever object it is, and not just randomness, okay? And it's probably a little bit easier in trying to discern the code down here. I imagine this is probably, for some of you, you could probably read it fine, but for some of you, it might be a little bit more difficult to comprehend. Okay, that being said, I want to get rid of a bunch of elements here just to make this look a little bit nicer. Okay, so I'm going to minimize that one. So I opened up the container. I would just try to minimize everything as much as you can and then just expand the parts that you need. So I'm going to do head, body. So there might be a bunch of, just collapse it all. And then inside the body, I have the row and then the container, and then I have the first row. I'm going to expand my row. And then you can see like all these extra pieces here. Okay, so that's in there. Let me collapse the nav. Okay, so that's the nav. Then I'm going to expand that. And then I can see, let me collapse this section. Okay, so we can see there's this nav brand. That's this little chunk here. We have the nav bar toggle. So that actually you can't see. You see how it looks like a little button? It's actually this. Watch this. It's this. That's the toggle. It only shows up when it gets collapsed. So right now it's actually not visible. So we're going to leave that guy alone. And then here is actually all of the inside link stuff, okay? So the idea is that this nav bar brand and the toggle are always there. So you could do is you could put your website name or, you know, an icon or something here. Instead of using, and a lot of times people will do that and that actually just goes to the home page. In my case, I think I'm just going to remove it because I have something that says home and the title's right at the very top. So I don't feel like it's necessary to have this element there. So I'm going to grab the nav bar brand here. I'm just going to right click on it and go delete. And now you'll see that that element is now gone. I also, so the nav bar toggle is going to stay on. So now it's just this whole inside section here. I'm going to expand that. Okay. And you'll see there is this unordered list, which is my list of links. Okay. And then you'll see that there's also this form section, which is this section right here. And inside of this, I have this input and I have this button. But I want to get rid of that altogether. I'm not going to have a search in the site. So we're just going to select this, right click, delete. Okay. Now we just have our links here. Let's go ahead and expand that. And you can see there is nav item active. So that just, they're all nav items. Each one of these is a link and they have a class called nav item. You see it says list item. The names that come afterwards are the selectors. I'll show you what these classes are later in a second. But that's what they're representing. So active just means it's the one that we're on the home page. So that's why it has this extra tag, or not tag, it's an extra class called active, which makes it darker and just says that that's currently where we are. Then you'll see you have a regular nav item. So that's just a regular link. Then there's this one that's drop down. If I actually open the drop down, you'll see that there is like a sub menu drop down menu. I'm not going to do any drop downs, so I don't need that one. So I'm just going to collapse that, right click, delete. And then the last one, which I don't know why you would want, is just got this disabled link in it. We're not going to have any links that are disabled, so we're going to delete that one too. Now, that only leaves me with home and link. I would like to have a home page and then 2 subpages. So I'm just going to go ahead and take this one and we'll just duplicate it once. Right click, duplicate. Good. Now I have my links. Okay. Let's go ahead and just change the names of these. So I'm just going to click in here. Oops. And we'll call this one services. And we'll call this one contact. There we go. So those are the two main pages that we want. That was good. Okay, so we basically have adjusted now the HTML and kind of a little bit of CSS, but it's not really formatted. It's not designed any differently, right? We just changed the content that was inside of it. I actually want to change, like, let's say the color of this. So right by default, it's this white. It doesn't really match what I have going on. I'd like to change the color. So to change the color, I will select it. We see again, it's kind of hard. Am I grabbing the whole thing? You can see like this. I'm actually grabbing a nav link right now. It's difficult. So I'm going to collapse this list because that was the inside. And then we will collapse that. Oops. And right here. So this nav, see how it says nav? That's the entirety of it. That's our main chunk. Okay. So now we have it. And what I want to do is I just want to change the background color. So in order to target this, we could go over here and I could type in nav because it actually is a nav class. Okay. So we could try to target it by being a nav. However, nav, oops, there we go. You can see it says .nav. We don't have access to that because that's actually the HTML or the bootstrap. I'll talk about that in a second. So what we need to do is we need to find a way of targeting this specifically without like accidentally targeting other things, right? So like for instance, if I wanted to target, meaning like I'm trying to select, I want to apply something to, let's say, the links in here. If I just put like a link, it's going to apply to these links and this link and all the other ones that are links. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a custom name for this element that will allow us to specifically apply stuff to it. Okay. So the way to do that is that when you have it selected, make sure I got it selected correctly, is over here, you can already see it has these names here. So what these are called, these are classes. And these classes, you add them, you can see it right here. So it says nav, it's got class. It's got a class called Nav Bar, another class called Nav Bar Expanded LG, large, and then Nav Bar Light and BG-Light. And these are basically names that you apply to it. And then in Bootstrap, because these are pre-made ones, we didn't do these, they're in here somewhere. So you'll see I'll say dot, like dot list inline, dot block but. So anything that has block quote footer, it's going to apply this stuff to it. So we could find, I don't know where it is in here, but it's in here. And it basically, it's going to apply to these because they have that. So what we're going to do is we're going to make our own. I'm just going to hit the little plus here. And we'll just call this main nav. Let's call it main nav, okay? And then I'll say enter. And then it's going to ask where I want to put it. So right now, see how it says that style? That means it's going to put it inside the internal style CSS. We could create an external one. I'm not going to do that. We'll just hit enter again or click off. It's fine. Okay, so now you can see it has main nav applied to it. So that's good. And now what we can do is we can target it using it. So what I'm going to do is if you scroll all the way to the bottom, it'll show you the ones that you created last. It kind of goes in order, more or less. So I don't know if I didn't think I talked about CSS Designer. Okay, so CSS Designer. Basically what this is, we only want to deal with these. Basically, what this is it will show you any CSS, and then you can apply your own CSS rules using it. So if we have on all sources, it's showing the Bootstrap CSS. So these are all the Bootstrap classes that are currently being applied. Okay, we could do style. That is our own custom one right here. This is the internal, where are you? The internal CSS. That's what this style means. So you see there's not as many. There's only this many because those are representing what we have currently here. All right. And so on and so forth. All right. So good. So I'm just going to, why don't you make sure it's on style, and then we can see all the CSS classes that are currently available that we've made. I'm going to select main nav, the one we just did. Now by default, this is going to say show set, which means it's only going to show the properties that are currently being applied, which obviously we haven't applied any, or it doesn't have any on it right yet. So turn this off, and then it will show you all the ones that may be applied. So you'll see there's quite a few here. Feel free to play around with this if you want. You will notice that they are organized into sections. So here we have ones based on layout, text, border, background, and extras. More, whatever. So, but you could just scroll too. These are just quickly going to each section. So what I want to do is I want to change the color. We don't need this. And let me just make sure I have it. It doesn't actually matter whether it's selected or not. It's just bothering me, the color. Okay. So go there. I actually want to change the background color. So that's this background one. So I'm just going to click on the background. You see, oh, here's background color. I want to change it. So let's just look at the colors, and we'll do our what I have ahead, this one, right? That's my background. We'll just do this. So I'll just copy this. Okay. I'll go back here and I will click on this, and I'm just going to type the hex code. Come on, you dirty dog. This happened last time where it kind of glitched out on me. For some reason, it just seems to have an issue. So I'm going to click on here. Come on. There we go. Click on there. Control V. There we go. Enter. All right. And voila. Oh, no. It didn't work. So here's what's happening. This is the reason why it's not happening. It's being overridden by by Bootstrap. So if you actually hover over it, see, it's not doing it. A lot of times what it'll do is it'll cross it out and be like, oh, it's not working because of this. But what's happening is that you see how there's this BG light and this Nav Bar light. What those are doing is they're actually applying CSS that's making the background a certain color. So if you remember before when we did the insert and we were on the Bootstrap components and we went to Nav Bar, there was Nav Bar. We did basic Nav Bar, and there was also inverted. Inverted would be BG dark and Nav Bar dark. basic is Nav Bar Light and BG Light. Okay, but I actually don't want either one of those. So we can actually just remove them. So I'm just going to go to Nav Bar or BG Light and exit out of that. And now you'll see it's not competing with that other one. And now we win. If we take out Nav Bar Light, it will actually change the colors of these as well. So I'm just going to do it so you see. They are there. It's because they're the same color as our stuff. So that's why that's happening. Okay. So let's go ahead and we'll change the background of this. We'll change it to the dark color so that we can see these. Or we could have left those on. Either way, it would have worked. But let's change the background color of this. So I'm going to go back to here. We're still on this. And let's go back to my background color. It's easier just to do it this way. Click on this. And then let me go to here. And we will just copy this. Control-C. Really don't like these colors that I chose, but whatever. And Control-V. Enter. Okay. And now you can see we have those elements. All right. Yay. I'm going to do the title next, and then we'll do another video for the rest. Okay, so we'll call that good. That's good enough for right now, I think, but we could definitely add more stuff. You'll see there's other things in here if you want to try to play around with them. I'm not going to right now. So let's go ahead and grab the title. So I'm going to minimize the nav. We'll minimize this whole row. The next row, that's my title row. I'm going to open this up, and then you'll see, okay, offset, there's the column, and then there's the H1. Okay, so now I have the H1, and we'll just call this what? Come on, man. What dreams may come. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sell dreams. That's what we're going to do with this. All right. So I could again try to target this using the H1 here, but if I do that, it's also going to apply to this H1, and I probably don't want to apply it to both. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a custom CSS Rule class to apply to this. So I'll hit the little plus here, and then I'm just going to go ahead and we'll say main heading. There we go. And then we'll say enter, enter. Great. So now we got main heading. So I'm just going to scroll down. You'll see main heading is now here. Just make sure you're only on style so that way it shows up there. And one thing I want to do is I want to adjust the text. So I want to go ahead and center the text. So I'm just going to hit the text here, hit center, and I see this, the text is centered. Okay. That's actually all I really wanted to do. But I could change the color. I could do other things as well. But now we at least have that. So you're going to see what you're most of the time what you're going to want to do is make a new class that you can then target and apply the CSS. But what we're actually doing is it's actually writing the code for us. So if you'll look, you can see now we have our own classes right here. And then this one has this background color. And then this class we just made has this text align. And you see how they say .main .heading? If I go down here and I go to nav, you'll see here it is, main nav. And then if I go to my, where am I? Oh, that's the card. Where's H1? Here we go. You'll see this H1 now has this class called main heading. And that's what we're doing. We're just creating classes on these elements and then applying CSS up here, but we're just doing it through a visual means. It's just meant to make it a little bit easier. If you've done web design, you'll probably know I think it's a little bit easier just to manually type it out, but there are these tools here, and I just want you guys to know what they are. So yeah, and the next one we'll do is we'll just kind of carry on with the rest of it.